Ooh! It's class. Class has already started. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit out of it today. Um, I've noticed in COVID times my personal grooming habits. They're getting downright personal. I'm getting personal feedback about it. Just two quick announcements to make today. First of all, I hope you guys are hanging in there. My heart goes out to you, to all of us. Crazy times. Crazy times. This is a little bit of good news. You have an exemplification essay due, you 201ers. You have an exemplification essay. You don't even know what exemplification essay is, but you have one of those due on Wednesday. There's a giant not giant, there's a folder with like 5 different documents, 4 documents, and I think 1 link. So you can understand what an exemplification essay is, because it's part of your requirement in the spiritual autobiography, which is due on the 24th. But it's now going to be offered as extra credit. You don't have to do it. But if you want to earn as many as 25 extra credit points for writing with skill a good 5-paragraph essay with at least 5 examples in it, do that. Same due date, this Wednesday. Take a look in the content area of D2L under the folder exemplification. You will see plenty of helpful hints, including exemplification essays. Is that redundant? Or is that just good fortune? So, the exemplification essay is now extra credit. That's a good boost, 25 points. Because you know that final essay that you're doing is 200 points. That's going to be a big game changer for you. So if you can go into that essay feeling good with extra credit points, why not? You have to do a micro exemplification essay inside that spiritual autobiography, so this is good practice. You might just want to choose a way to write it such that you double dip. What you do now, you get extra credit for, and then you also get credit for it for having it as a part of your required elements in your spiritual autobiography. Why not? I suggest it. What is exemplification? It's almost a little bit like an argumentative essay. Here I'm looking at a wrong side copy, but this is in your folder on D2L. Here are some topics for an essay of exemplification. Compared to voice phone, texting has many advantages. Individual consumers can help slow global warming. People one comes to admire don't always stay likable for the long run. Bad habits are necessary to the nation's economy. It's almost like an argumentative essay or like a persuasive essay. It's almost like an editorial that you're going to write for a newspaper, or just a classic argument essay that you've been asked to do since you were just wee lads and lassies. Except that you don't have to use data, statistics. You don't have to go doing all kinds of research to find out what is the the scientific or reliable point of view to have on a particular topic. You come up with examples. Hence, it's called an exemplification essay. Instead of facts, data, statistics, studies, which those are also acceptable, what you want to do is come up with an example. So these converge into kind of personal writing. You come up with an example after an example after an example. If you wanted to argue that most homeless people are not, contrary to popular belief, mentally ill, well, you better have some real deep anecdotal evidence if you're not going to use facts and statistics gathered from the clearinghouse of data available about, homeless people in America or elsewhere. You need to have a vast sort of warehouse within your own experience of examples. And then you give an example, then you follow it up with another example, you follow it up with another example. Doesn't always have to be examples, but because we're writing a spiritual autobiography, which is based on your life and your experience, I will accept if you write an exemplification essay of all examples from real life rather than statistics and facts and scientific studies. Okay, if you have any questions about that, you know that you should email me. 4 minutes and 38 seconds in. I can do 2 more minutes. As part of your spiritual autobiography, you need to have 5 rhetorical devices in your spiritual autobio, which is due on the 24th, as you know. So far, we've studied these. alliteration, figurative language, the long sentence followed by the short, the so-called long-short combo. We've studied rhetorical questions. We discovered, we studied writing using sensory impressions, concrete language, the postcards, the descriptions of persons and places. I've been asking you to write in such a way that you evoke sensory impressions in your reader so that reader feels participation in what's happening. There's 2 more I'm going to give you, so you'll have a total of 8. You have to do 5 of these in your spiritual autobiography. Tricolon and the 14th rule. All of these, by the way, are found in D2L in the folder in content called Rhetorical Devices. So Tricolon and the 14th rule. Look at the document that's labeled Part 1. There are 2 documents in the content folder called Rhetorical Devices. One's Part 1, the other's Part 2. You'll find Tricolon and the 14th rule, the last 2 that I'm teaching, in Part 1. Tricolon is just a fancy way to talk about how important 3 is. The number 3. The use of 3 things. 3 words, 3 phrases, 3 clauses. 3. It's a magical number for the human mind. It just resonates with us. So take advantage of the way the mind works in your writing and find this document in Rhetorical Devices, Tricolon. It's a rhetorical term that consists of 3 parallel clauses, phrases, or words, which happen to come in quick succession without any interruption. The origin of this rhetorical device is traced in the Greek to the word tricolon, meaning section of a sentence. These 3 parallel words, phrases, or clauses have almost the same length, though this condition is not strictly enforced. And then there's an example. Let's take a look at that example a little more closely. I want you to notice how beautiful tricolon is when it's done properly. The bold in this example sentence, which is in the document in D2L. Here, I'll give you the whole thing. After this great liberator is laid to rest, and when we have returned to our cities and villages and rejoined our daily routines, let us search for his strength. Let us search for his largeness of spirit somewhere inside of ourselves. Okay, bum ba rum bum. Here comes the tricolon, the bold. And when the night grows dark, clause number 1. When injustice weighs heavy on our hearts, clause number 2. When our best laid plans seem beyond our reach, clause number 3. Tricolon. There's something beautiful, there's something neat and tidy, there's something very appealing in the repetition of 3. These are clauses because they all have a subject, like night, and a verb, grows dark. And the next one, injustice, weighs heavy. And the third one, plans, seem beyond. And they all start with the same word, when, and when. That's beautiful. That's parallel structure. That means the repetition of the identical structure. It gives rhythm, it gives beauty, it gives symmetry, it gives a very attractive quality to the mind of the reader that encounters it. I didn't finish the sentence. Let us think of Madiba and the words that brought him comfort within the 4 walls of his cell. That's tricolon. I'd like you to be able to incorporate tricolon in your writing. Use it to effect. Realize that it has a rhythmical quality, that you are putting a lot of emphasis, you're sort of puffing up. So when you have a subject that you want to elevate, right, because the use of tricolon naturally can do that, or you want to give some symmetry to it, or you just need to have a certain ring in your sentence because your sentences have all kind of sounded the same, don't forget tricolons. The repetition of 3. It can be words, the simplest. It can be phrases, the next more complicated, and it can be clauses, as we saw here. You can even have tricolon that spans sentences. You could have a full sentence, capital letter, period, and then you could have a certain structure to it. Then you could repeat that in the next sentence. You could roll out another sentence that repeats the structure of the first, and you could do that across sentences. Martin Luther King, a great orator, does that to amazing effect when he speaks. You know, these rhetorical devices seem like they're part of oral speaking because, in fact, so much of our language for much of its history was oral before it ever started to become written down. So Some of these more sort of theatrical seeming devices, they come out of speaking, and that's why they retain a certain kind of, I don't know, it sounds like charm to it, a ring to it, because it does. It rings in the ear. It appeals to the ear. Okay, now I've gone 10 minutes, taken up too much of your time. Questions? Email me. Take care.